So I'm going to go through a couple of different services, and we're going to talk about how you can offer those services if they fall within the skill set that you offer. Now, in my last live, I would have gone over what a virtual assistant is and different questions that would have come in, and one of those would have been related to what services can be offered. So today I'm going to go a little bit in depth. Now, just to say up front, there are probably 100 services that a virtual assistant can offer. I haven't checked them all, but it's probably close to or above 100 services that a virtual assistant can offer. So it's very broad and very wide. And of course, one person isn't going to offer all those services. It just depends on where you want a niche, right? So without further ado, let's jump into some of the services. I'm just going to go over a couple of them tonight and go a little bit more in depth into some of them. So the first one is webinar management. Now, I'm going to go through the process of how you can help a business owner with a webinar from start to finish. So as a virtual assistant, you can come in any part of the process. Some persons may just want you to do the live webinar assistance. So this is where the business owner sets up everything beforehand, and on the day you come in as a co-host, and you mute persons' mics, you spotlight persons. We're talking about webinars on Zoom, by the way. There are different webinar platforms. So when I say webinar, I'm speaking specifically about Zoom because it is a popular webinar platform that people use, right? But if you wanted to be involved in the process from start to finish, or if the business owner wanted that, then that could be done as well. So you as the virtual assistant can actually help the business owner brainstorm the webinar. So that's one of the roles that you can have. So before the webinar is even thought of, you can be there helping the business owner brainstorm the webinar topic, what you're going to call the webinar. Maybe they're going to have a guest speaker, things along those lines, the length of the webinar, the best date and time for the webinar. And if it's paid, you can also brainstorm with the business owner the cost. So that's something that you can do along with the business owner if they need that type of support. Once the webinar is planned, you can also provide that assistance in terms of being the one to go over with the business owner, a dry run, so that they feel comfortable with the content that is going to be put out. So that could also be a part of what you offer. And then you also can be the one to do the advertisement for the webinar. So that could be the graphics, the content for your social media, the written content or the copy. That could be the email marketing, the website update. So based upon your skill set, you could offer the marketing aspect of the webinar as well, which may include an online form that the person has to fill out. So online forms is a totally separate aspect of VA services that you can offer, but of course this gets meshed in because email marketing also is a separate thing, but they could all get meshed into your webinar management. And so you can use your online form different online form applications to create a form. So how it would work is you have your brainstorming, you have your launch, and of course before you actually launch, before you send out your information for marketing, you would already have your form created and you add that link to your social media. So say for instance you wrote up a post and you did a graphic for the business owner's Facebook page. You would say we have a webinar name, the time of the webinar, if it's free or paid, and some details about the webinar. And then you would have at the bottom, or wherever you choose to put it, a link for the person to sign up for the webinar. And once they sign up for the webinar, there are programs that you can get an automatic email back. You can get an automatic email back so saying thank you very much for signing up for the webinar. This is the link if it's free, and if it's paid you could send, giving them the banking information for the to pay for the webinar, or the PayPal or the Stripe or whatever people use, whatever the business owner is using to collect funds for the webinar, right? So that part you can do as well, and of course continue to share the information through the different social media channels, through the website, through email marketing, whatever marketing strategy that is in place. You as the virtual assistant can handle that as well, or you can have that somebody else doing that. So again, it depends on your strengths. It depends on the area that you would specialize in, that you can handle these things for the business owner as well. Now, people start filling out the form and you have a list of persons who are interested in this webinar. So let's assume it's a paid webinar. As the virtual assistant, you can also handle calling these persons and letting them know that they received the emails, doing a little sales, right? Asking them what's their reason for wanting to attend the webinar, things like that, kind of reminding them to pay. All those things can be a part of what you do as the VA. And I want to reiterate again, it really depends upon if that's your skill set and if that's a service you offer. And then of course, on the day of the webinar, you can be the one to be checking the waiting room and letting persons in. If they have breakout rooms, you could be the one putting persons into breakout rooms. You can be the one unmuting persons' mics and checking the chat area, creating polls. There are lots of interesting things that can happen on Zoom for webinar, playing music in the background, spotlighting persons, and all of those wonderful things. You as the virtual assistant can do that. So you can do some of those things, or you can do all of those things. And then there's also, after the webinar is finished, if there's a recording to be sent out, if there's a thank you email, if there is a special offer that they are going to receive, then you can also be the one to do that and also post on social media, that the webinar was a success. You have feedback forms that you can send after the webinar. So lots of interesting things that you can do with the idea of being that webinar manager. Again, it depends on your skill sets. You can have other VAs on your team if you want to work with other VAs, that you and a team of VA do webinar management. Maybe you are good at graphics and the other person is good at copy. Maybe you have somebody who's doing email marketing and you all can create a dream team helping business owners do awesome webinars. Or again, you could just offer particular services within that list of things that you can do. Right, so that's webinars. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comment section and I can always pause and take a look at that as well. I see we have some persons on here. So the next thing we're going to look at is managing social media comments. I think this one is pretty straightforward, but it's definitely something that many business owners may be interested in hiring you for, especially if they run a lot of ads and they have a high volume of comments, 100 comments, 200 comments, 300 comments, and they want somebody to respond to that. Now, if you are going to respond to comments, then you can create a list of frequently asked questions and you can always respond to comments based on that, and anything that is outside of the ordinary, you can liaise with the client and find out what would be the best response, and then you add that to your list of frequently asked questions, right? And so managing social media comments is a great way to provide excellent customer service on behalf of a business owner, and it would really help them with their time management as well, because they wouldn't have to be doing that all of the time. Right, so we're talking about what services you can offer as a virtual assistant. So we spoke about webinar management, full service webinar management. We have managing social media comments, and of course you could be a full service social media manager if you had those skill sets as well, but we're just breaking it down. So next we're going to talk about arranging interviews, and this is something that you can do as a virtual assistant. Again, so there are different processes in that. So if it is that you wanted to start off from the beginning of the process, you could actually be the one working with the business owner to create the ad for the particular opening that they had, to write up the job spec, right? If that's within your field or your scope, you can be the one to put the information out there and receive the resumes and make a list of the criteria and judge the resumes accordingly and shortlist persons who you are now going to call and arrange for the interviews. Or you could simply be the person doing the call, sending out the emails to arrange interviews. There are virtual assistants who may do the initial interviews, right? If that's again within your skill set. I know there are some VAs who have HR experience. You may do the initial interviews and bring it down to that short list and then hand it over to the business owner, or be on the panel with the business owner to help them decide who would be the best person for the particular job. So you see how far and wide virtual assistant services could be, and it depends on your background where you can fall within. All right. Next, we're going to talk about creating online forms, which I kind of already spoke about. So you have creating online forms in the context of the webinars. You can create an online form for just about anything. You can create an online form for registration, for somebody who is who has a product business. Maybe they want to have a form where you filled out for persons that are interested in a particular product, but usually forms are for more service based. It could be a intake form for a school, like a private school, and you want to get information from the parents. So creating online forms are far and wide based upon what you can do with it, and there are different platforms that you can use. One of them, very simple, is Google Forms. If you haven't used Google Forms before, you can check it out. It's free and you can play around with it and see the different things that you can do within that. And of course there are paid ones where you have a lot more options, and you could actually collect funds from those online form platforms, and lots of interesting things in there. And last but not least, we have scheduling social media updates. So again, you can be a full service social media manager, or you can be a social media virtual assistant offering social media support. And so I have had clients who they have already created their content, and they just don't want to sit down and schedule out content for the entire month. And so they would put it on a document and they would give it to me, and they may say find a photo to go with this, or they may already have their photos and I just have to schedule them out. So that's something that clients do want. And again, as a virtual assistant, think about time management and things that the business owner may need but they don't have time to do. Then that's definitely something that you can offer as a virtual assistant, where you go in and you schedule posts. Now, a lot of the platforms have their own scheduler, but sometimes the business owner may have a scheduler that is external, that's connected to their different social media platforms, and you can go into that scheduler and you can schedule out on different platforms in there. Canva has a scheduler. It works pretty okay, where you can connect it to the different places and you can schedule through Canva. You have Hootsuite. I can never pronounce that. Hootsuite. Yeah, that thing, and a couple of different ones that you can use, or you can schedule in the platform itself. LinkedIn now has, well, not now, a while now, has updated where you can schedule posts, and of course Facebook has had that for a while, where you can schedule both your Facebook and your LinkedIn, your Facebook and your Instagram, sorry, from your Facebook business page. So you can look up and think and look at different schedulers and things that you can do with them. So these would have been what, 5 of the of the lot, right? Because there are many VA services that you can offer, but I just wanted to point out a couple of them and show the versatility that being a virtual assistant has, where you can operate in different areas based on your skill